Howdy folks, and welcome back out to the claim. It's another hot summer day out here, and the temperatures are going to be climbing up almost to 100 degrees. I know it's been a long time since I posted videos, probably been at least a couple of months, but I've been busy taking care of family matters and sicknesses and all kinds of stuff. You know, it all happens all at once, and so you just don't have time to get out. So anyhow, I'm glad we're back out here again, and we're going to see if we can find some more chunky gold. So today what we're going to do is a little bit of an experiment, okay? Now behind me is this chunky gold area in this wash that I've been digging in, okay? But I want to find out just exactly where this chunky gold is kind of trending, okay? Because in this district, most of the gold is on the south flank of the washes. So as we're facing this direction, we're actually looking west, okay? So south is more biased to this side, and then we're more north over here. Well, if you can see the ground, which I'll bring in here a little closer, you can see that this area here has a lot of red in it, okay? But as we move away and start to move over to where this pick is over here, it starts to change color and turn kind of a whitish brown color, okay? So it's a little different. So what I want to do is probably take about five gallon buckets of dirt from each section, kind of do it over here, here, and also over here where it's white, run it through the wash plant and see what we get. Because if the chunky gold is kind of trending over on this side, which I kind of think it is, okay, then that's the direction we want to be digging in this wash. Okay, so let me show you what I'm talking about here. All right, you can kind of see down here, we had a little bit of rain, so we have a little bit of channeling going through here. You see, this is the south part of the wash, and see how red all this looks? Okay, and as we kind of walk on down through here, and you know, this area is full of metamorphic rock. We have a lot of schist. There's a nice piece of schist right there, okay? And if I can get the camera on it just right, it might be able to sparkle for you because of the mica content. And then right next to it is a chunk of gneiss, okay, another metamorphic rock. And of course we also have our typical quartz. And so, and most of this is a lot of ironstone. Here's a nice chunk of ironstone right there, okay, which shows pretty good indication. And it's fairly red through here. As I back out, you can see that. And as I slowly pan to the north, okay, as I talked about the pick, you can see here's the pick, and the color change starts to drift here. We can see as we're starting to move over further north, it's turning a little more whitish looking, kind of a white-brown content. You see that? So this is where I'm going to sample from, and just to get a better idea of possibly where all this is you know, coming from, and that will set up my bias to where I should be digging. Well, let's start picking. Now you're kind of looking towards the south direction. So this is the south side of the wash, and this is the first area we're going to be digging. And of course, this is really super thick, gooey clay. Now recently we had some rains in here to help loosen up the ground, but it's still pretty tough to get it pick in here. So it's going to be kind of a challenge to get five gallon buckets full of dirt to run a sample. And as you can probably see from the camera here, you can see all the big clots that I'm getting. And good thing I have the wash plant and shaker deck to kind of help bust all this up and run it through so we can separate the gold from all this. So I'll keep picking away until we get enough, and then we'll fill up the buckets. And I think we got enough here to fill up some buckets, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I think we got our 5 gallon buckets filled up, so let's haul it over to the wash plant. Okay, and here we go. We'll just set it right next to the wash plant, and we'll get the other buckets, do the same. All right, we got all the buckets up here. We're about ready to get this thing fired up. Now, for those of you who are new to this channel, I just want to give you just a briefing about what this wash plant is all about. Now, those of you who've seen my previous videos of all the details and stuff like that, just kind of bear with me for a couple of minutes. So what I'm going to do is going to give you a guided tour of this wash plant. Now, I strongly suggest, if you're new to this channel, to go to my other videos that describe this wash plant. I'll put the links down in the description so you'll be able to see them and have a better understanding about how this works, because this is a little different than most conventional wash plants that you've seen. So this is the upper vibrating shaker deck. It has a set of spray bars right here, and they kind of spray in kind of a V-shaped pattern. And so the material lays down on this deck here, and it flows down, and these little studs down here help break up the rock and material to separate the gold. So the material kind of flows through here like in a car wash. Okay? So now the tailings come off here. Okay? And then what falls through this 1/4 inch screen right here, this 1/4 inch, all the material and gold falls down underneath here to the sluice. You can kind of see it underneath here. So this is where the gold collects. You can see everything flowing down the sluice, and you notice how jumpy it is. That's because this particular mat is actually called a double stack V-shaped riffle, which causes multiple oscillations. So as the stuff flows down here, it's doing this, like that, and causing the gold to drop into the riffles. Highly, highly efficient, especially for fine gold recovery. Now, what happens after this is that the gold is trapped in the sluice, like I mentioned. Now everything else drops down onto the dewatering deck. And this is where the water and the solids are separated. This is a 200 mesh screen here, okay, and this is called the pond. This is where the separation occurs. And then as it flows out the other end, this is called the beach down here, okay? This is where all the dry stuff comes out and it flows in the tailings. Now you can see in here, I've got these twin vibrating motors. These are very specialized motors, and they're operating together in a certain frequency in order to make this vibration signal happen to separate the water from the solids, okay? Now we'll go ahead and move over here to the other side. And what we have here is one of many sand filters in this bucket. There's a bucket full of sand with holes in the bottom, and what this does is it takes all the suspended particles out of the water and keeps the water, it helps keep the water clean. There's also one underneath inside, you can see it right there, another sand filter bucket inside there to collect it from the dewatering deck. And finally we come over here to the pump, and the pump has got this sandbag full of sand that's around it. And that helps keep some of the gooey clay from flowing into the pump. So now it flows from there into these two buckets here. Now these are very specialized pressurized buckets that have 1/16 inch sand, so this is another sand filter. So the water flows in and then flows up, back up to the shaker deck. So the whole idea is to strip as much suspended particles out of the wash plant as possible. Now also I know, sure, you guys are probably concerned, but yes, I do use a flocculant, and yes, I do use a detergent as well. Okay, here we go. Feeding up some material. Now because this is gooey clay, I'm going to run this a little slower than normal stream gravel. It takes a little longer to process, but you can see all these rocks. See how clean they're getting? Not doing too bad here. So we're just going to take our time and process this out so that way we maximize our gold recovery. See how these little blobs of clay, look at them break up there. You see that? Falling completely apart. You can also see it down in the tailings section too. As I turn the camera over here, you can see it kind of coming off into the tailings there. Pretty good. There we go. Okay, you can see all the material flowing down in the sluice. And now we're going to come down here to the dewater deck. See all the stuff dewatering right there? Flowing off. And you can see the gooey clay coming off the back end here, as well as the rest of the tailings. See that? That's exactly what you want. So now my water is being recycled, going through the sand filters, back to the pump, back to the pressurized sand filters, back up to the screen. So notice the water down here. Notice how brown it is. Notice the water up here. See how clear it is. That's the key. Okay, so we've run all the sample from that first lot, five 5-gallon buckets. So we'll go ahead and take the sluice out and we'll roll up the mat and wash it out. Yeah, it's just a little tricky getting out of here. There we go. Okay, this mat just holds in with these two little rails here. And I'm just going to pop this loose. All right, there we go. And we'll just throw it in the bucket. We'll wash it out in a second. And now we got to just clean out the rest of the sluice. So we'll just kind of rinse everything else out. It flows into that concrete tub. All right, so we got our mat down in here. So, and in the words of Jeff Williams, yeah, you're going to get wet. So we're going to go ahead and shake this mat out really hard. Okay, then we're going to flip it around so the outside or the top of the mat is facing to the outside. Stretch out that mat a little bit. Shake it some more. Get all those loose rocks and nuggets out. Flip it over. Do it again. Okay. And we got ourselves a nice clean mat, ready to start all over again. Okay, so we already finished doing the north or the south side of the wash, and we ran that through the wash plant. Now we're working on the middle here, just kind of picking it. And actually, the material looks pretty red. I'm actually quite surprised. So we'll go ahead and fill up our buckets, run this through the wash plant, and then we'll do the same thing for the north part of the wash. Now we're on the north section, so this is the last part here. Now I have to be a little extra careful because I've got this pile of pay dirt on top of it, so I've just got to be able to take this around here. Now this pay dirt actually came from this wash kind of down over here in this section here where I got down to the bedrock and sucked it all up. So we got a little over about 1.5 yards of material sitting here that will run at a later date. But in the meantime, I'll have to be careful again to take the sample just right here below underneath this so we don't end up, cross-contaminating. All right, so we'll get this thing dug up, process it, and then we'll pan it. Get to panning here. Now, this is the south flank of the wash, and I didn't really show you all the concentrates in here. We just kind of got down to the bottom to the black sand, removed all the blonde stuff. Didn't want to bore you with all the panning. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see if we got anything out of here. So we'll go ahead and swish it back and forth and check it out. And I see one piece of gold. There we go. It's right there. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it a little better. I'll point to it right there. All right. So that's good. So we got at least one piece. Again, this is the south. Oh, here's another piece. You see it right there? Bring up to the camera so you can see it. Right there. So now we have two pieces of gold. And let's see, do we get a third one in here? Maybe. We'll find out here. All right. So we only have just a couple of pieces here. Let me bring it up to the camera and get the shadow out of the way. Well, we'll just pull it down a little bit. So we got two nice little pieces of gold sitting right there. Let me get the water out of the way. You see right there at the end of my finger. I'm not really seeing a lot of fine stuff. Maybe a couple little specks in there. But it looks like that's it. So we just got two nice pieces of gold. Not quite pickers, but pretty close. Okay, this is sample number 2. This is the middle of the wash, where a lot of red stuff was and all that. So this is going to be the center section. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. Ah, there we go. I don't know if the camera can see it. Right here in the corner, we got ourselves a little picker. There we go. Let me see if I can move it out here in the view. You can see it a little better. Yep, there it is. Nice little picker right there. See that? Perfect. Okay, and it's definitely a picker because I can well, pick it up. There it is. We'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it. Well, it's kind of in the shade. There we go. All right, so we got a picker out of there, and I'm not really seeing anything else. You know, maybe a few little specks. I mean, there's a speck right there showing, you know. Oh, there's a few more showing up. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. The third sample's in the pan, and we panned it all down, so let's see if we get any gold here. Now, this is the sample that's on the north side of the wash, all right? And this area here, remember, I talked about, didn't really have a lot of reddish content. It was more of kind of a whitish brown. So we'll see what it yields. But not seeing any gold just yet. Yeah. Wow, not really anything at all. Woo! Hardly a thing. Wow. You know, I don't know if you can see it in the camera resolution shows, but I'll bring it up here. You just see just little micro dots all over the place. Real super fine stuff. I mean, we're talking 100 mesh down to 200 mesh, maybe even finer than that. Holy smoke. So, all right. So we kind of know the direction we need to dig. How about that? Unbelievable. Okay, here's some just close-ups of what we panned out. Now, this is the south part of the wash where we have those two nice little pieces, and there's a few little specks that you can kind of see down there in the bottom of the pan as I zoom in. All right, and then we'll slide over to the next one, which is the middle of the wash. We got that nice picker right there, and a little accompanying smaller piece. So that's looking pretty good. And of course, you look down there, you can see a whole bunch of little fine specks all over the place. Now, the north part of the wash was not that quite impressive. As you can see here, I'll just kind of pan over. You can kind of see some of the gold down there. You know, it's just real super fine stuff. You know, that's probably not all of it, but we're talking stuff that's just really super microfine. Whew, it's getting hot out here. I got to get out of here and find some shade. Anyway, so our test results are in. Looks like we're going to be following the south flank as well as the middle of the wash because that's where the best gold is. Apparently, there's really not a whole lot on the north side except a bunch of fine stuff. Really isn't worth digging. So anyway, if you're new to the channel, I welcome you. And be sure to smash that like button and also click on the subscribe button and the little bell so that way you can get future updates on my videos. Also, I invite you to go look at my previous videos that I talked about in my wash plant as well. In the meantime, I wish you the very best in your prospecting adventures. Get out there and find some gold, and we'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.